You're watching Agenda on a day that India is coming to grips with the cyber attack, which apparently has impacted 200,000 computers across 150 countries. Now, there are isolated reports coming from different parts of the country that India has been impacted too by this virus, which apparently is so potent that if anybody in an office opens that one link or attachment, it can spread and actually limit all of the computers in that office. Warnings about this are being sent out by the IT department of the government. In fact, they're having emergency meetings this evening as well. And we'll be speaking to experts and taking questions over here on Agenda. But first of all, the three places which are impacted by this ransomware deadly virus, which is actually brought to a halt the NHS system in the UK. They had to send patients back from hospitals because they couldn't access their data. That's the worst that we've heard happening right now across the world with the cyber data. And in fact, warnings are being sent out to Indian ATMs as well about their operation. But first, one of the places that's been impacted is Kerala and Panchayat offices. And joining us first is the Inspector General Manoj Abraham, who looks after cybersecurity. Thank you, Mr. Abraham, for speaking to NDTV. Can you tell us how is it that the Panchayat computers in Kerala have got impacted? I know it's a small number. I know it's a few computers. But what kind of impact are you seeing, sir?
Basically, this is a vulnerability in the Windows operating system as such. So basically, the alerts were there. We had also issued a lot of alerts. But basically, if you don't update the patches, as the Microsoft company has been patches, they put a patch for this in March 2017 also. But many of the Windows users, some are pirated versions, they did not update their operating system. That's how this malware could actually get into their systems and affect the Panchayat offices as such. And of course, the latest antivirus software...
Is it true that you also use pirated software?
No, it's basically the patch, the patches which they issued by Microsoft. They were not, the operating system was not updated with the latest patches. So the vulnerability was there. And that is what Microsoft has been issuing advisories that they should put it up to date. Everybody should update their operating systems as such. So if you don't do that, of course, you are open to all these attacks as well.
Okay, so thank you so much, Mr. Manoj Abraham, telling us about the impact that it's had. And, you know, thinking about the number of computers here in India, this was one thing, one area, only a few computers in Kerala. Before we speak to our experts, we have Saket Modi over here. He's an ethical hacker and also joining us a cyber expert from Bengal, Vandana Verma. Before we just go across to them, another place which has been impacted is West Bengal. Monideepa Banerjee joining us now. Monideepa, tell us we've heard about Kerala. How has it impacted, how has ransomware impacted the power department in Bengal and which areas?
Well, for the second day running, we are seeing ransomware attacks across Bengal. Today, 2 districts have been affected, very widespread in Birbhum district, where the power utility offices run by the state government, 3 of them have been affected in Birbhum district at Rampurhat, Bolpur and Shuri. And then further up north in Jalpaiguri district, in Dhupguri, the same organization's office has been affected as well. Since yesterday, there is just one difference. Yesterday, the demand was apparently for 300 bitcoins at every place that was attacked. Today, that's gone up to 600 bitcoins. Apparently, that's what we are hearing. Yesterday, there were attacks at West Midnapur, East Midnapur, and South Dinajpur as well. Again, the same offices, West Bengal State Electricity Distribution Company Limited. Now, the authorities are telling us there is no serious impact. Services have not been affected at all. Only ordinary people who are going to pay bills at the cash centers, they are facing some trouble. But The situation has alarmed the government, and high-power meetings were held today at the State Secretariat between the administration and the police to try and see what can be done to stop it. An emergency number has also been issued by the police.
Thank you, Monidippa Banerjee, for that. So, also instances of some kind of hacking and some kind of that impacting in Andhra Pradesh police over the weekend as well. If we can start with you, Saket Modi, should we just thank our stars because that, you know, and just for our audience references, Saket Modi also works with the government in securing key apps like the Bheem app, things like that. So he should know how it works. Should we be glad that digitization hasn't happened so extensively? Otherwise, we'd be really badly hit. And also, I want you to explain, Microsoft, while giving out its statement, they've said this shows why the stockpiling of vulnerability government is such a problem, and it is an emerging pattern in 2017. Should we thank the God that we haven't been digitized fully, that we are kind of buffered from this?
You see, the point which you're making is almost as it's something which I feel which shouldn't be taken into consideration at all. Saying thankfully we are not digitized, because let's be very clear on this part that the advantages of going digital far outweigh the challenges. A $15 trillion economy that the United States is makes 80% of its payments using technology.
Right.
And still, hacks happen. We've seen starting from the DNC till the JP Morgan Chases of the world being hacked. And still that doesn't mean that they say, oh my God, I'm getting hacked because we are digitized. Because again, the advantages far outweigh the disadvantages. But on the other side, yes, we've been fortunate enough because the digital adaptation to our systems, to what things are, has not been to that scale where a worm like this would affect us to a very large extent. So it's a luck by chance thing where things didn't affect us in a big way, but that doesn't mean that the systems which we have currently have any upgraded defense mechanism as a result of which we got protected by this worm.
We don't have that.
Nobody has that. When the UK, the Russians, the United States don't have it,
right,
then we don't have it, and that's the way the world is right now.
Okay, Vandana Verma, what about this current attack? Because if you think about it, if you think about the potential that this did have, in a way, UK very badly affected. People can't access their hospitals. Appointments had to be cancelled in the UK. In another place in Germany, a station had to close down because they couldn't get into their system. What would you say about the kind of impact that it's had over here, and also our responses? I think the Home Ministry has already sent out an advisory to ATMs as well. How would you assess this?
So when we talk about sending advisories, giving sessions, even India CERT has given session on ransomwares and how to handle them. Our systems have also been affected, not majorly like England or Stockholm or any other location, but our systems have also been affected by it. Even a lot of ATMs have been infected by it, and as you mentioned, West Bengal power utility systems, they are also infected by it. But these are affected on more towards the outdated systems that we have in place, and the lack of education that we have for cyber security. If we have more of cyber security education for the people across the country, not just for the people who are into media, technology, but across, and the impact is not yet coming up at the very broader level in India. The systems are infected. I can tell you a lot of internet service providers are also affected by it. It's just that the people are not very responsive towards it. And they're asking 300 worth of bitcoins. If you do not pay within 3 days, they will increase the money to $600 bitcoins. And then post 1 week, they will wipe the systems off. So what people think, what people are thinking, or the companies are thinking, that why to give the money, but rather than wipe the systems. That's what, and they don't want to they don't want to be in the limelight. So that's why the impact are not being shown here, basically in India.
Right. And Jitin Jain, if I can ask you, I know you're there in London. Sitting there in London, do things look really grim?
Well, I would say that yes, UK has been one of the bigger victims of the attack, but what is surprising here is that we have a very structured response mechanism in place. And National Cyber Security Center here in UK, had given a very detailed advice.
And even, they have been working with for the mitigation with different sectors. And they've been very active within the first 24 hours. And I guess this is what we lacked here in India, that, the first advice, this so-called briefing from CERT came 48 hours later in the morning. So, while Saket said that UK, US, Russia, everybody has been vulnerable, no doubt about it. But where I disagree is that these countries have better security response mechanisms in place. They are very active. And in India, why all the figures what we are seeing in the media are all speculative, because there is no qualitative figure to quantify this loss. Because in India, we do not have
a very structured reporting system. Most of the major sectors, they prefer not to report the incidents to CERT because of the loss of market goodwill and reputation. And that is why what we are seeing in India is a completely under-reported and understated scenario. And it's not a problem of awareness. I think it's a problem of judgments and mentality we have, that we do not prefer to invest in cybersecurity.
That's a really important point. Jitin Jain, I wanted to take that to Saket as well. Do you think it's been underreported?
I couldn't hear what he said, sorry.
Do you think people just didn't report it because they didn't want their stocks to be impacted? They didn't want to spread panic, because this is something that many are saying, that the reason why we're not, that's why we only hear the government departments reporting it and not the private ventures at all.
No, so here's the thing. I think that thing totally makes sense. However, let's not forget that even in the private sector, there's a category of corporates which is called the national critical infrastructure, where your banks, your airports, your aviation companies, a lot of them come into play.
Right.
Banks, for example, is mandated with a rule that you have to report a breach within 6 hours of the incident that happens.
Right.
So why I'm saying this to you is, it's impossible that a bank would get breached and not report to the RBI or the CERT India, which took a webinar today morning, and in fact CERT very clearly stated that, look, it's actually being overhyped than what the impact has been in India specifically. Yes, globally there's been a large impact in terms of number of computers, and it's the first of its kind that we've seen at this scale. I'm not denying that. But India and where it is in terms of the impact, things don't look that bad.